productions across the country. But despite this scale, the sector remains largely unstructured and fragmented. That is why engagements like this are necessary. Let me take a moment to clarify who ETASA is. ETASA is the Events and Technical Association of South Africa. It is a sector coordination platform. Let me repeat. It is a sector coordination platform. It exists to support industry engagement, consultation, and alignment within the broader creative economic framework. It is important to be clear. ETASA is not here to replace existing organizations. ETASA is not here to control the industry. ETASA exists to bring the sector into one conversation. The role of ETASA is to facilitate consultation, support coordination, encourage engagement, strengthen understanding of the sector. In simple terms, we are here to create a platform for the industry to engage with itself. ETASA works alongside existing organizations. Organizations such as EXA. I'm sure the EXA people know that I'm a member there. Let's put our hands. I've been a member for years. SAACI, you know I'm a member as well. TPSA, I've been a member. SAKIA, I'm a member there as well. BTPA and others already play important roles. This process is not about replacing them. It is about creating a broader, inclusive national conversation. When we talk about this sector, we are talking about a wide variety. When we talk about this sector, we are talking about a wide range of professionals: technicians, riggers, engineers, designers, production teams, event specialists. This is a highly skilled and highly specialized industry, and it deserves to be understood as such. The sector is large, but fragmented. There are many voices, but limited coordination. Many of the challenges faced in one province are the same challenges faced across the country. This consultation creates a space to bring those realities together. We recognize and respect the role of all existing organizations in this sector. Each of these organizations contributes to the growth and development of the industry. What we are doing here is not replacing them, but creating a platform where all voices can be heard together. A national consultation allows us to bring the sector into one conversation, gather insights across the country, understand. In this room today, we have a representation of the sector. Practitioners, organizers, technical stakeholders connected to the sector. This diversity is important because it reflects the industry. One of the key objectives of this process is to better understand the sector. Who is in it? Where are they based? What skills exist? What services are being provided? We encourage everyone here to register. This is not just a form, it is part of building a clearer national picture of the industry. I don't know if, they put it, so you can scan to register if you have not registered. But I know, amazingly, we were shocked when we announced the registrations. Within, I think, 2 days, we had 1,000 people registering. So let's give it up for ourselves. The event sector contributes significantly to the economy. It supports tourism, hospitality, employment, and cultural activity. It is not a small industry. It is a major economic driver, and that is why it must be properly understood and coordinated. From major venues to large-scale productions, from national festivals to international standard events, this industry operates at a high level, but that level of activity is not yet matched by coordination. Across the country, similar challenges continue to emerge. Fragmentation, limited coordination, skills gaps, uneven access to opportunities, policy alignment issues. These are not isolated problems. They are sector-wide realities. What this session is, it is important to clarify what this session is. This is a consultation. It is a dialogue. It is a listening platform. This is about engagement, not instruction. It is equally important to clarify what this is not. This is not a funding session. This is not a job allocation platform. This is not replacing existing organizations. This is not a decision-making forum today. This is a starting point. Your role here is critical. Your experiences, your insights, your challenges all contribute to shaping a better understanding of this sector. This process only works if the sector participates. We now move into the most important part of this session, the conversation. We would like to hear from you. What are the key challenges? What opportunities exist? What needs to improve? This is your platform. Thank you.
A big round of applause to our board member, Mr. Arthur Mufokate, who has now laid the foundation. And ngesizulu bathu sinikezile umkhombandlela siyazi ukuthi manje silana sizokwenzani futhi siyazi ukuthi lokho sikuzele ikuphi and what we are not here for. Listening to his opening remarks, he opened up by speaking of how the sector continues to be the least coordinated. And I'll take the liberty to say this is by far one of the biggest challenges that we are faced with as a country. We seem to struggle with the concept of coordinating and being coordinated. I'm not too sure as to whether or not it is part of our socialization, whether we can attribute this to our historical background, but there seems to be this persistent attitude of working in silos, of talking past each other, where you find the sector says they are not getting this, and then you find the state or any other organ that has an interest in the sector saying that we are not getting this. And as he had highlighted, ladies and gentlemen, it would truly and really stand us in good stead as we are gathered here today, that we at least, if there's one thing that we walk away with, and that is we should strive in our respective businesses and our respective sectors to inculcate and cultivate the culture of coordination. Because through coordination, we stand to be better as a sector, we stand to be better as a unit, and we stand to benefit a whole lot more economically and otherwise, as we would be able to leverage on what the other parties have. Speaking of coordination, I now have the privilege of inviting the ETASA project manager from the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, Mr. Colin Hlatshwayo. I'm going to steal that jacket. Oops, my mic is on. Sorry.
We had everything. We had everything. Okay. Sound check 1 2 1 2. Okay. Yeah. It's about events, technical production. It's about organizing. It's about making the magic. We have content. We've got beautiful content in our country. The artistic diversity, the cultural diversity is amazing worldwide. We're one of those countries that really moves the world with our cultural and artistic expression. However, all of this, for it to shine, needs you, the sector practitioners, the technical, the live event management, production, and so on and so forth, because you are the people that create that magic backstage. And when you put together these events, we notice that You consult amongst each other, you consult with the client, you consult with the sound engineer, you consult with the performers themselves, you consult with everybody else. However, we begin also to realize that amongst yourselves, there's a need of a lot of consultation in order to make you even more stronger, to create more magic on the stage. So having just said that, I want to acknowledge Arthur Mafukati because he has taken everything that I wanted to say here today. I thought I was the Sango, but then I don't know. Somehow his energy just said everything, so I won't belabor on all those elements. I would just echo and concur with everything that he has said here. The department has been focused a lot on the creative and cultural activities, the content, but very little interventions have been made in this particular aspect of the other side of what we do as creative industries, which is the development of the cultural creative industries, event management, production, and so forth. So this platform is what the department is supporting, wants to see this sector also getting organized to that level, like all other sectors that make our country. So in my very, very short message is to give you the confidence that the department is fully behind this initiative, and we want to support you every way we can to achieve an organized environment, because what we do experience is a number of voices that approach us for support of the same thing, where we then say, no, but if we could have been a collective voice on a particular element, we could have made stronger interventions and identified stronger partnerships. So this is exactly what we're trying to do through this initiative, to say, as Arthur was saying, the knots of what this is not to dismantle what is already existing. That will be a fundamental flaw of policy development. In fact, what this should do is to enhance what is already happening and even create a better space. In fact, our vision, we wish to see South Africa being the #1 country all over the world in terms of event production. We want, thank you. And that potential does exist. And therefore, this is the initiative that can assist both government and the private sector. We come together and identify those poles or those areas that if we put our forces together there, we become the #1. We put South Africa first. We put South African events production sector first. Okay, right. So in a nutshell, I'm here to wish you all the best in your engagements. Our office is open. I won't speak on behalf of the minister, but some of you engaged with him in terms of the earlier days when these initiatives were organized, of the clusters and so on. So there is all that support collectively towards making sure that these processes succeed. And in that note, I wish to say thank you and all the best.
Thank you so much, sir. It's amazing when you hear from the project manager of DSEC says that he supports us with everything that we do. I think now it's just up to us to collaborate, come together, have suggestions, perspectives, and ensure that we come out with the best outcome it could be. For now, let's welcome Sibusise Ncwabe, EXA Chairman and ETASA Secretary, to tell us about the industry perspective, exhibitions, brief us about the overview of the exhibition industry, the role within the event ecosystem, industry opportunities and challenges. And please do not forget, whenever you are posting, and I'm sure everybody has started posting, hashtag ETASA, hashtag Events Industry SA, one industry, one voice. Let's welcome. Yeah. No, already trending. Can we please welcome Mr. Sibusiso Mncwabe on stage, please? Can we give him a round of applause? Yay!
Oh yes, the mic. No, the gray hair is from my dancing days. I used to dance big time with Mr. Hlachwayo there. I do understand he's a dancer, so. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If I can just get my presentation going. There you go. My name is Sibusiso Mncwabe. I'm sure from the song that you heard I came in with, you already know where I'm from. Kakasini. I see my homies over there. Shapa too. Tada. And then since I've moved to Johannesburg, Fede, is that the right one, Arthur? Fede. But yes, I'm Sibusiso Mncwabe from Marketing World. That's the company that I'm a managing director of. It's in the exhibition sector. But from then, I am the chairperson of ETASA, and today I wear the hat of secretary for ETASA. Okay, so the association that I come from is called ETASA. It was established a very long time ago, 1980. It's one of the oldest sectors in South Africa within the exhibition industry. We're here to set standards as the exhibition industry. We're here to help the market grow, and we're here to protect the value of the exhibition industry. So ETASA has over 100 members currently. We've also got MOUs in the international sphere. In Africa, we've got MOUs already signed up. So it's a sector that we try to bring people together so that we have one voice and we have one communication when we speak to government, which is one of the main reasons why we are here today. Oh, no. Oh, okay. Now, if I show you this picture, I'm sure everybody knows what this picture is, right? It's the biggest conference we've had in South Africa in a very long time. I think even the biggest thing from that was the World Cup 2010. This conference took a whole year in different areas and different provinces. It was all over the place. But when I speak about this picture, it's all pretty, it's all kuhle, kuyakhanya. But people don't know the late nights that it takes for this to come together. And one thing that we hear as the exhibition industry to come speak about, or to come lobby also, is when government and corporate clients, when they give us this opportunity to host or to put together, to put together an event, a lot goes in, a lot of planning. It is not an overnight thing. So we don't need this late night, last minute type of things coming together. We're a very organized sector, and this is what we want to also encourage the event sector to go into, to become a very organized sector, so that when we go to DSEC and any other government institutions and we go lobby there, people know and understand that we are an organized industry. But let me take you behind the scenes. What actually happens, or what gets going to an what gets the exhibition going? The first picture is the clients. Some of those clients don't look happy, but that's usually the case because we're fighting over budget, we're fighting over venue, we're fighting about a lot of things with the client whilst we're still planning the event. From that, once the client has given us the brief, we go into design. Now, design is another thing. People think it's just an overnight thing, but people have gone to school and they've studied, they've got degrees, and some others are professors in this design industry. We have to design what the event is going to look like. It's not an overnight thing again, as I say. From then, once you've designed, you've obviously had your conversation with your client and you've gone back and forth, we come to the build-up stages. This is another part that's very important in the eventing industry. The client always thinks that we just come in there and we set up 5 minutes and the event can start. The event takes a very long time to set up, especially in the exhibition industry. There's riggers, there's safety officers, there's lighting, there's stage, there's all the people that have to come together to put the event, to make sure that the event runs. My left, your right, bottom picture, that's the exhibition space once it's all set up and done. From then, there's managing the event. So there's people that curate the show, there's people that are project managers for the show to make sure that things go all right, things happen smoothly and they run smoothly. I can only imagine how difficult it was for the G20 to come together with all the delegates that had to come together. You know, protocol is always an issue when it comes to these things. But what we want at the end of the day as the exhibition industry is that the client gets a stand that looks clean, pristine, and you know, over there's bright lights. So a client does not need dirty furniture or anything like that. Everything of ours must always look pristine and clean. This is how the clients end up being happy clients. Okay, so the sector itself, it drives value. It's an economic powerhouse and it's an employment engine. We're part of the MICE industry. Now in the MICE industry, we all know it's meetings, it's incentives, it's conferences and exhibitions. And that's the part that that EXA plays in. It's in the exhibitions. We set standards and drive professionalism to ensure that the sector keeps growing. So what does exhibitions deliver? We deliver face-to-face connection, innovation launchpad, and an economic multiplier. The face-to-face interactions is something that's been going for a very, very long time. I'm sure everybody knows what a gentleman's handshake is. And once we're done with a gentleman's handshake on a face-to-face event, it's done. We've got the next event. We've got our second tranche, Mr. Once we've shaken on it, we sorted. It's an innovation launchpad. Think of it when you're launching brand new cars, like the electric cars or anything like that. That's where you go to see all these things. We get all this information that we read on newspapers from these launch events that have happened. So it's a place where it breeds innovation. Now, it being an economic multiplier, there's a lot of people that go into it. So in one event, there's cleaners, there's riggers, there's project managers, there's designers, there's stand builders who manufacture, there's shop fitters. There's all these people that come into one space in order to make sure that the event runs smoothly. And most importantly, there's SMMEs there. Now, these people are very important. We need to guide them into the industry. In our industry, it's been a cry that we're all getting gray hairs and getting old. We don't have, okay, except for you, John, there's nothing there. I'm sure it's all the stress of this industry, but we're crying in this industry for the youth to come on board. We're crying for the black empowerment to come on board. We need more young people in this industry. We do not have a lot. Now, when we talk money about it, the CTICC in Cape Town International Convention Center, over 90% of their spend was spent on local suppliers. Now, if you can imagine, CTICC's turnover is hundreds of millions, and 90% of that is spent on local suppliers. So this is an industry that we need to build, and we need to build capacity so that it continues into the future. There are opportunities ahead. One of our partners, UFI, has called Africa rich with opportunities. There's a need for collaboration for our industry to work. There's new markets that have come up. And there's places where it's been untapped that we need to go through to. We need new organizers also to come into the space, to come up into the business events type of things. Let's not all fight for just one festival, but let's look at business events and how we can grow this sector, because it is a multi-million rand sector. In fact, it's a multi-billion rand sector globally. Innovation and SMME development, I've touched a little bit on that, but growing the focus on diversification and global access is something that we need to do. So when we come together as a sector, in the events, in the technical, and in exhibitions, we can grow this sector. So stronger partnerships, they equal bigger impact. Now, this is something that we've labored on and we will continue to labor on, because this is what this consultation is about. It's us making a bigger impact so that we have one voice, unified voice, to send to the government and they be able to listen to us. There's infrastructure investment that's needed. We need to be upgrading our venues. Our venues are top tier if we're here in South Africa. But the moment we go out the country, we just a bit behind. We need our venues to be upgraded. We need policy advocacy. This is where we streamline the regulations and the visa processes for people outside the country to be able to come in legally, and also to facilitate that international attendance. One of the other things that we need to advocate for is the crime in our country. We need to be in the forefront of this, of fighting crime, because this is what chases the international market away. So we need to sell our country as the most beautiful country, which it is. Even Americans are coming here. Hey. Right, so skills development, I'm sorry if there are any Americans. Sorry about that. Skills development is also very important. What we've lobbied for as EXA is to get accreditation for people in the events industry. I know Kevin is also doing quite a good job in that part, and Kevin, our board member, is in Sakya, which is another association that we've come together with to build the skills development within this sector. Because we have people who are, we have to build a future that's ready, a workforce that's ready to take over us who are getting gray hairs. That's for the long-term growth. The challenges that we face is obviously budgets and costs. It's always a story. Whether it's government, whether it's corporate, it's always a budget thing that we fight for. So the tight government budgets and rising operational costs are squeezing margins for organizers and venues alike, which brings a problem of us when we have to set up and when we have to strike down. A client doesn't want to pay an extra day for build-up. A client doesn't want to pay an extra extra day for breakdown. This is something that I'm sure Kevin will also touch on, the health and safety, the health and safety part of it for our events. A budget shrinking means that the venue is booked for less days. Access to barrier, infrastructure gaps, air connectivity issues, visa processing delays, as I've mentioned, and the safety perception of that's affecting international buyers. I've mentioned that. The digital competition is also out there. Competition from digital alternatives requires constant adaptation to prove unique value for our physical presence. So we can't come here and we just set up any old how and it just becomes another place that we go to. It needs to bring value, otherwise then this we would have over a Zoom call or something like that, which does not make sense to me. We need that gentleman's handshake once we're done with this consultation. But with every challenges, there are opportunities. I've mentioned the tight budgets. We need to look at creative procurement models so that with the creative procurement models allows us to procure in long term. We know what's happening, we know what's coming, we procure nice and early, and we get things rolling. Procuring very late means that, okay, let me not even get into it. The infrastructure gap I've mentioned, we need to target investment for this infrastructure. Currently, we've built 2 shows in Kuruman. Who would have thought that Kuruman is going to have exhibition stands? But those are all the infrastructure places, the gaps that we've got currently. We need to look forward and see how we can close those gaps. The visa connectivity I've spoken about, and I think the GNU is trying to do something right about it, but that's a different topic we won't get into today. Digital competition, we need to raise the bar of what a person gets when they come to a physical event, which I've mentioned. Now, what we're all here for is a bold, collaborative future that is possible when we're working together. What we're here for today is to share knowledge. We need to break down the silos. We stop working in silos. We need to share data, best practices across clusters and association. We need to build partnerships. We need to align our strategy with the tourism bodies, because that's what is our biggest sector that we feed to. And the government to drive recovery and growth. One last thing that we need to do is we need to invest and innovate. We need to commit to world-class standards. We need to embrace innovation, and we need to upskill our people so they can stay in this sector. Now, we just had a joke here earlier on about this sector being 2 a.m. in the morning in the halls when you're still building. We need to upskill the young ones, because with the moment they hear 2 a.m., they go, "Ay, ang sabuhi mina la." Ngeke. I'd rather stick to AI. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm closing off my speech. I thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we need to know, Mamati, Asabuhi, what's the reason for that? Yeah, it's just amazing how the amount of work happens behind, the developing and the creating of an event. The challenges and the obstacles and the frustrations. But at the same time, the good thing about that is that you get to see the creativity of each and every person. So that's the amazing thing about that. Please excuse the movement. We're apparently getting more people, which is exciting. So they're going to be moving up to the front seats. Thank you so much. All right, thank you. Up next, can we please have our honorable speaker, another honorable speaker, Kevin Jones, to tell us about the industry perspective, event safety and capacity building. He is the CASHA and TIPSA Executive Director and ETASA Deputy Chairperson. Can we please welcome him on stage? And please don't forget, hashtag ETASA, hashtag industry, event industry SA, one voice, one industry, one voice. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you, sir.
I'm looking down and I see this picture of me on the screen, and I think it's a picture that Arthur took a couple of years ago. But that's still my favorite shirt, and I still have the same beard. So, yeah, I'm feeling good about myself. Is my presentation up and ready to rock? Can I? Yeah. So, as an event, this really kicked off back in 2024, where Gayton McKenzie, our Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, convened a gathering of practitioners in the cultural and creative industry. Came as a bit of a shock to some of us. It was held out at that Birchwood venue near the airport. And he announced that he wanted to get involved in establishing 17 cluster councils, each of which would focus on a particular sector of the market. And for those of you like me, that attended that meeting, you'll recognise that it was a bit of a bun fight. We were each given about 5 minutes to introduce our associations, and well, some people managed to squeeze in, if you were an early speaker, about 10 minutes of presentation, but it meant that the people that were presenting at the tail end of the conference got to present for around about 2 minutes, and then we went about the process of establishing boards that would drive this process forward. And one of the challenges that created is that we simply didn't have enough participants in our board. And you know, right now we have 5 people that have been working over the course of the last year to develop ETASA. But one of the things that we want to see coming out of today's discussion is to get more people involved in the process, because the greater the input, the greater the participation. So I think the point that I'm making is that over the course of the last 18 months, we've been actively working to develop ETASA and to articulate a vision. And one of the things that we want to have happen is for that vision then to become reality. So many of the speakers so far have spoken about the number of associations that are active in between them. On the screen here, I've got some of them, and I'm pleased, you know, there's somebody from SEPA in the audience, somebody from the TPSA in the audience. Unfortunately, only me from the Event Safety Council. But we have delegates here from the PCO Alliance Network, from EXA, from AXO, from the Event Greening Forum, and from TEBCO SA. For those of you that don't know TEBCO, it's the Township Events Business Council. So lots of different associations active in the events industry, including a few that aren't there. I met my colleagues from CIFSA earlier, and I'm pleased that they're in the room. Arthur spoke about the BTPSA, the black version of the Technical Production and Services Association. Lots of associations, and all of us working together, or all of us working to achieve our own objectives in our silo, but in many instances collaborating with each other to drive a greater vision. And I mention this because during the COVID pandemic, all of these associations came together to establish what was called the South African Events Council. And so we worked collectively to try and address the needs of industry. And the South African Events Council still exists and still drives this agenda that is focused on cooperation and collaboration between the various associations. And one of the questions that we need to ask is you know, if there is a South African Events Council, what is the distinction between the Events Council and ETASA? How do we collaborate with each other? How do we support each other? Is there any value at all in having 2 separate organizations? I don't know the answer to that question, but it's one of the things that I think that we need to discuss today, and it's your feedback that will determine how we move forward. So, you know, the future vision. Arthur said right at the very beginning, this is about gathering input from the audience. And so it's your vision that will determine how we move forward. But one of the points that I want to make is that we haven't just been sitting around twiddling our thumbs. We've had serious conversations about the kind of stuff that we would like to be doing within ETASA. And so one of the things that I'd like to do is just share with you some of those things that we have discussed. What are our objectives? So we've set ourselves some objectives around standards, training, industry certification, and empowerment. And I'm going to talk about each of those independently. So Sbu talked about the importance of standards, and it's important to recognize that there are standards that apply in our industry, but not necessarily that are embraced by all. So we spoke about safety earlier. There is a SANS 10366 national standard for safety in the events industry. It's established within the South African Bureau of Standards. And in addition to all of the other things that I do, I also chair that SABS Technical Committee for Event Safety. And so Arthur said earlier, I'll be talking about event safety. I think the most important thing that I would say is that there is a national standard for event safety, and one of the things that we need to do is to embrace that commitment to event safety. What I'm about to say may well get me into trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway. Yeah, of course I will, you're quite right. I've sat in many meetings, particularly with black-owned production companies who say to me, these standards are too onerous. We shouldn't apply these in South Africa. I want to say to you that when somebody falls out of a scaffold, they bleed the same blood, whether they are from England or whether they're from Africa. You can't have safety standards at one level that apply in Europe and another level that apply in South Africa. We have to have one standard that is safe. It's not about saying, oh, we need a scaled down version of the SANS 10366 standard. No, we need to up our game. We need to work according to professional standards that create safe environments for everybody involved in the infrastructure. Whether you are an event organizer, whether you're a member of the technical crew, or whether you're a patron attending an event, you have a right to live and work or be entertained in a safe environment. So standards are absolutely crucial. There are also standards around event greening. I think one of the big changes that we've seen in our industry over the last couple of years is a growing awareness of the importance of event greening and the need to be responsible to the environment in which we operate. I can see John's nodding here. I didn't discuss this with you. Pardon me. But as event organisers, we have a responsibility to embrace a commitment to event greening standards and to ensure that the events that we put together are done so in an ethical and responsible fashion. Training is also a big issue. That was what I was saying about standards. Actually, let me go back to this, business standards. Actually, it's about ethical business practices. One of the big changes that we have seen, and up until recently this was an issue, is that there are a vast number of freelance crew that work in the events industry, and until recently these people were not allowed to join a trade union or were not allowed to get involved in collective bargaining, and that created an environment in which there was a great deal of abuse and exploitation. At the beginning of this month, the Department of Employment and Labour published new legislation that will deem freelancers working in multiple sectors, but in particular the cultural and creative industry, to be employed individuals for certain conditions of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. What that does is it opens up the opportunity for people to join a trade union and to engage in collective bargaining. And in that process, there you go, I see one person clapped. I think this is a big thing. What it does is it creates an environment in which we can prevent the exploitation and abuse of people that are working in the events industry. So there are many other business standards that apply. The biggest challenge that we have is that the events industry has, until recently, been very much driven by a cowboy mentality, where we try to do everything at the last moment, and in that process we take shortcuts, and those shortcuts impact us in terms of safety protocols, but they also impact us in terms of HR issues around the employment of people. So what do we want to do is we want to promote an environment of self-regulation in the events industry. I don't know about you, but the last thing I want is Big Brother, whether it's DSAC or anybody else, looking over our shoulder telling us what we should be doing. We're the experts. We're the people that should be defining the standards. We're the people that should be holding people accountable and disciplining them in instances when they don't abide by a code of professional conduct or anything else. Some of the things that we spoke about, and perhaps these are issues that you want to discuss, is perhaps establishing an ombuds office so that we can resolve disputes amongst ourselves. But the most important thing is to embrace that commitment to global standards and practices. We don't live in an environment where we work in isolation. We work with event organisers from all over the world, and we need to share common standards with them. Then we speak about training and skills development, and again, one of the things we want to do collectively is encourage more people to participate in formal training and skills development programs. And that can either be informal training, the kind of stuff that many people do. I don't think there's anybody from DWR in the room, but I'm pretty sure several of you will have been on their training programs. Informal training programs designed to upskill people working in the industry. Then we move on to occupational training programs that fall under the QCTO, the Quality Council for Trades and Occupations, the kind of qualification that you would get if you went through the Gearhouse Academy or several other training institutes. Academic learning. I don't know if maybe if you're a graduate from TUT or Durban University of Technology, just stick your hand up. God, I can see 1, 2 hands. Oh, that's not very good. Well done to you both. I invited Wandile to come along and join us today. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here. I understand he's now doing a doctorate in lighting design. The point is that there are academic programs from bachelor's level right up to doctorate level that people in this industry can pursue. And then the third element is continuing professional development. So what does CPD mean? CPD programs are run under the auspices of a professional body. I'm going to talk about professional designations in a tick, but in practical terms, once an individual has been awarded a professional designation, in order to maintain it, they have to participate in a program of continuing professional development that keeps them up to date with the trends and technologies that are shaping the future of our industry. The key for me is that once you've graduated, and well done to the ladies at the table over there, that's not when the learning stops. In fact, my experience, based on my own academic career, is that I learnt way more post-graduation than I ever did whilst I was a formal student. Studying continues, and lifelong learning is essential in an industry where technology is moving as fast as it is. So there are lots of informal training programs. This is the APSN training that was run by DWR. You'll see Duncan down in the front, and Dylan. Those of you that know the DWR team will recognise some of their people. You've got occupational training programs that are run by people like Gearhouse. You've got academic programs. TUT, probably the biggest training provider in the technical space and in the event management space, and then professional development. I just want to talk briefly about the rollout of professional designations, and this is something that's specific to SACIA, but we do have registered with SAQA, so SAQA being the South African Qualifications Authority, professional designations that allow us to recognise the competence of people working in our sector. And one of the things that we collectively want to do, this is not just a SACIA punt, it's something that is shared by most of the associations that I had up on the screen earlier. We want to work closely to try and promote the adoption of professional standards, and we want to recognise competence through the award of professional designations. Now, each of those designations has associated with it an underlying qualification, but the beauty of a professional designation is that people can earn a professional designation based on lifelong learning, based on a recognition of workplace experience, workplace learning. So when you apply for a designation, everybody writes the same exam, whether you've been to university or whether you haven't been to university. If you want to earn a professional designation, you write an exam. And we don't really care how you acquired your knowledge. If you learnt it by going to university, that's great. If you learnt it by watching YouTube videos and reading books and self-study programs, that's also great. If you learnt by doing on-the-job training, that's also fine. However you got it, we're going to assess you according to the same criteria. So whether you're a university graduate or whether you started your career by pushing boxes and learnt on the job, that's fine. You can earn a professional designation that recognises your skill, your knowledge, and your competence. And of course, this all fits into the current BEE legislation, where on the BEE learning program matrix, they specify how each of these training programs fits into the matrix. So when you participate in informal training, your employer can claim credit in categories F and G on the learning program matrix. If you're involved in trade and occupational training through a QCTO recognized training provider, your employer can claim under category B of that, and so it goes on down. Professional development falls into category C, and that would be training that leads to the award or maintenance of a professional designation registered with SAQA. Then we want to talk about empowering all stakeholders. If you were watching the video at the beginning of the presentation, you heard Sharif talking about the fact that women are underrepresented in the events industry, particularly on the technical side. And one of the things that we need to do is to create opportunities for more women to get involved. We also need to create opportunities for people with disabilities to take a more active role in this industry as a sector. You know, somebody that has a physical disability is unlikely to want to work as a rigger climbing up and down scaffold. But there's no reason why somebody that's disabled can't drive a sound desk or a lighting desk or perform some other function that allows them to make a meaningful contribution. I have no idea why I put this slide in. It's probably got some notes on, but I don't know what they are. And then I thought I would kind of just end up with some questions and answers. I had said that I wanted for this to be an interactive session. So, Arthur, I'm not altogether sure either where you are or what the program is, but is this a good time to take some questions? Hey? Not yet? Okay. Remember this slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. There is going to be a time for Q&As, so I am not denying you that chance. Thank you so much, Mr. Jones. We really, really appreciate that. That was very mouthful, especially with the fact that you want to open opportunities for women in the event industry. And I think the narrative of thinking that women won't be able to make it in this industry, we need to, you know, work on that, because I think they are capable, right? Yeah. So for now, can we please welcome our last honorable speaker, Mr. Sipondaba, Treasurer of ETASA, to tell us about the industry perspective, technical services, and industry collaboration. Can we please give him a round of applause?
Sanmon, Dumelang, Abshin, Nonjek Tuan Foot, and Sas. My name is Sipondaba from KZN. Seeing a nicer way to Drakensberg. In Zulu we say ezweni lentsangu or kahlamba. That's another economy that we are venturing in, the cannabis sector. In fact, on a formal note, I come from the sector of event organizers. And also technical production. We came together as event organizers after seeing challenges that we encounter when we have even qualified to be classified as major events. But the problem that we faced much is working in silos of event organizers. We know, we have had all the presentations from our colleagues. We also took that opportunity to go and present when the minister called the sector to start up these clusters. We started an organization, which is a chamber, which is a concepts and events business chamber, because most event organizers, they conceptualize their events and put it into practice. Go and sell it to government and private sector for the buy-in. But within the CCI, there are lots of challenges because we don't work in collaboration. Each and every sector works on its own. So that ends up failing that concept, which was very good. And it was creating a lot of opportunities within the value chain. So hence we said, no, let's encourage all the event organizers and technical production suppliers to work together in order to sustain this industry. Because whether you are hosting an exhibition or you are hosting a session like this, or any other session, you need event planners. So it supports across the CCI. So most of the time we hear other, like maybe you hear artists advocating for their rights. But the mere fact is that for them to realize the sustainability, including people who are working behind the scene. Sound engineers, riggers, script writers, videography, and all of that. For them to realize, to recognize the sustainability through sustaining this industry of events. Because if there are no events, you know very well, tourism drops. You like it or not. The hospitality industry suffers. You see, I was once told that a tourist will visit the area to do something, and accommodation is just by the way. They don't just book and see after what they can do around there. They first check what they can do around there And, oh, okay, I need to spend a weekend. Then they book accommodation. So it means it all depends on the activities that are around in that area. So, but the problem is that as event organizers, we end up being like, I'm a conduit for funds that we receive either from the corporate sector or mostly government, because in the corporate sector, the transformation ayenzeki at all. There is a lot of regionalism that is happening with corporate sector. You see, I can make an example with a company an alcohol company. Most of them are based in Gauteng. But it doesn't mean that Gauteng consume more alcohol than any other province. But when they make decisions, when you are in Limpopo or wherever, Eastern Cape or KZN, they will say, no, our cap is 50,000. But when you are in Gauteng, they will give you 500,000. So we need to crack that, but we can only crack that when we work in collaboration, no matter which province we are coming from. So we do need collective voices. One message, many voices, so that we can be heard. And also, with the public sector, with government, there is a lot of politicizing events. And that is a big hindrance to growing this industry. One politician will be given the mandate to lead this department either at the provincial level or national. You know very well everything will change. No matter how far we have gone with what we were doing, it will change. Because I'm not talking about one, I'm saying all provinces. I'm also a politician in my own right. But the problem is that we are experiencing that because whoever is leading the department will start with his own new people, collapse all the major events that had been established and start new ones. And we know why. We know what happens is that they will bring people who are not industry practitioners and leave these ones who are established, who obey all the standards of the industry. And these people are only interested in making money. Only money. They don't care about professionalizing the industry. So they will abuse everyone within the value chain. And then you end up, our industry is always aligned with corruption. Whoever wants to channel any funds, they will channel them through our sector. And it's very problematic. Because if you come with a proposal and you say you need 5 million, they say, yo, no. That's not right. 5 million, why? Why? It's because they don't know the industry. Even the educators in the departments, they need to be trained as well. Because we don't know how they educate. We really don't know. Because the qualifications they got are not aligned with the industry. You see, I'll make an example with my event that I do annually since 2010. I made I made an application. I won't say who, but it's a national entity. The event has got 25,000 audience, and it's live on TV on the 31st of December with an average of 3 million viewers. And it's live on radio, Cause FM, with an average of 6 million listeners. But when they rejected me, I asked why. They told me, no, the reason is that your event is very small, in a corner. We don't support those events. We support events that have got national footprint. And I had one event that was supported, and I went to attend it. I found them with a very small stage. The lighting was bad, the sound was crap, everything was a problem, and all the DJs that were performing there were given, the highest was paid 10,000 rands. And on our events, we pay up to 200,000 for artists. For technical production, we pay up to $1 million. I'm sure TMM will agree with me, because he's a professional technical production supplier. When they quote you on professionalism. So it affects the industry very much in such a way that it kills the industry. Because if you see the live events, the festivals, hey, they are suffering. Because these educators don't understand the live event, that you have an artist coming with 12-piece band, and also the technical production the riders are so huge. And they will compare you with a small event without live performances and say, oh, by the way, we'll give you 500,000. Then you ask yourself how many artists you're gonna get out of that. But also as us as artists, we experience a lot of problems as event organizers. That's why we would like to work in a collaborative way. You see, within all these clusters, we really need a coordination. Because I know everyone fights for their own space. Hey, but there is another thing, the riders, alcohol riders. That is a huge problem. And the problem is that you pay everything, and the artist will go at backstage. You find that the rider costs another 40K or 50K. And the artist won't go on stage just for alcohol. And you wonder why that is not included on the quotation. Indirectly, because I cannot justify for alcohol. Even if I've got a sponsor, I won't be able to justify that. So I'm not blaming them. They are fighting for their own space. But there are so many other things that we can fine-tune, working together, so that everyone can understand the challenges, the bigger picture of the challenges. Because sometimes you find a leader of the department comes here and say, no, we're going to support these events. And make pronouncements, maybe, hey, we give so much. But you as an event organizer, on the last week, they cut the budget by 70%. And now, what are you going to do? You can't postpone, you can't do anything. As we speak now, there is a booming economy amongst event organizers, or mashonis. Because they know very well that you will be promised so much. They call everyone into one room with artists, everyone who are practicing in the sector, and you make such a huge event, then they come on last minute. They know, the mashonisas, that you'll come to them on the last week and they charge 40%. And that, that thing is booming. They are making a lot of money. And you who are hired within the value chain, because the value chain is quite wide when organizing an event. You don't know that the mandate you are paid from is from Umashonis. Because that event organizer is trying his or her best to make sure that that event is done professionally. So I do reiterate what my colleague Kevin said. We need to set standards. We really need to set standards. We can't have anyone who can be an event organizer. There should be a way. You see, we cannot depend on events, because if you're an event organizer, especially major events organizer, maybe you have maximum of 2 events in a year. But there is another business opportunity within government departments. There are events in the government departments, and they are exploiting the practitioners. Very much so. They will say, no, if we are doing an outdoor event, for technical production, we pay up to 100,000. And for an artist, it's 20,000, take it or leave it. There is no transport, there is no accommodation. For meals, you'll go and ask at the catering company, and by the way, if you are a celebrity, they will give you meals. So that is bad. And the same department, when you are asking for support, they will expect a lot from you. And when the artists complain, the MSC will phone, hey, why are you giving this artist so little money? And when they are giving them far less than what you're offering. Technical production, what can you supply for 100,000 for an outdoor event? You can't even supply a stage, just a stage. So that's the problem we're facing. So we're really pleading that let's work together, not work in silos, and we need to train. We need trainings. I do reiterate the thing of trainings. We need accreditation so that people can be accredited, so that even if it's a department or a private sector, they know that there is a pool of trained professional event organizers, because they are trained to professionalize the industry, to obey the business principles of the industry, because currently it's so difficult to obey the principles of the business because of the challenges that we're facing. But if we work together, so we believe that this platform of ETASA is not here to replace the existing platforms, but it's a platform where we can coordinate amongst these platforms that are there. Because if there are many voices and one message, we can never ever, you see, you've been in the industry for 30 years, but you're still suffering today. You find an event is given to a construction company. Construction company, and is doing an event. In the construction, there are grades. You need to have a certain grade to qualify for 1 million, a certain grade for 3 million, a certain grade for so much. You can't just go and bid for 100 million tender. You start from grade 1. So why don't we do that in this industry? You start from grade 1, then you qualify according to, there must be monitors within the industry to monitor the events that are happening across the country, to make sure that they abide to the principles. No matter if it's a government event or it's a private event or it's an individually owned event, it must be monitored so that we can keep to the principles. So let's work together. Together we can do more. Thank you. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Sipo. Let's work together. Together we can do more. You touched on a number of very, very important matters that actually drive us towards the importance of structuring ourselves such that we are pretty much legislated. You know, when you stage an event in the United States, for example, I'm going to take it that far, then I'll bring it back home. When you stage an event in the United States, the regulations are so tight. The policy and everything speaks to policy. Bringing back home, there is none of that. Anyone can come in and do as they please, and lives are even put at risk because there is no guiding policy that is binding. So a government department can say for an events coordinator, and you are correct, you find contractors, you find people who are in healthcare, you find people who are medical practitioners getting, awarded tenders to go and stage events. So we often find ourselves ever so vulnerable. And this is one of the reasons as to why then it becomes very difficult to coordinate ourselves, because everything then shrinks, and the little that you get, because you've got responsibilities too. And there's only so much that the state can do. However, if the processes were thorough, if the legislation was in place, just as it is with other formalized sectors, just like construction, that was a brilliant example, then you are able to even go and challenge, because you say for someone to arrive at this level, to produce this scale of an event, insofar as what we as the sector dictates, this person should have at least gotten this grading and that grading. So this now goes back to the amount of work that's going to have to come out of here, because we don't want a talk shop. We don't want to come back again next year and diagnose our problems, because our problems are well known. We should, ideally, by the time we leave here, have some kind of a draft of how then do we then go to the powers that be and present ourselves and be able to demand what is due to us. Corporate South Africa is far from being transformed. And the barriers to entry on the eventing front, when you look at corporate South Africa, are immense. Their vetting system, what they will do, you are quite lucky as a black supplier, you will be assigned to an agency that works with an agency that works with an agency. So by the time you get to invoice, your invoice is that much, because there is this scaffolding that is up there. And we need to challenge that. But there's absolutely no way we can take corporate SA to task if we are as disorganized as we are. And there's also no way we can take corporate SA to task if we don't have an agreed upon mandate that says this is who we are as a sector and we will not take this. I'm sure you've learned of instances, for example, where a big event, and I'm going to use the United States as well, because they are very strict and they do a lot of events, where the sector will just say it's not happening, because you have failed to meet this requirement and this requirement and this requirement. Bringing it back home, let's look at Rwanda. You made mention, Mhlegazi, on your presentation about how we as event coordinators and event producers should also have say in infrastructure development. You look at an establishment like Gallagher, for example, it is by far the busiest convention center. They're easy to work with. However, there are still limitations. So even when you want to bring certain events here, but what is in the infrastructure around here? There are no hotels that are at a 5-star level, for example. And if you look at global trends, what hotels are doing now is and they're working in conjunction. You mentioned collaboration. It's not just only about us collaborating among ourselves, but it's the full value chain. Town planning is important. How do we influence that? If there is going to be a development, understanding that most of the developments that are coming up in these spaces that are fertile for events, they are usually privately owned. But how do we then go there and influence such that there's an ecosystem that feeds, looking at what event venues are you going to put up there? Basketball is gaining traction across the globe. Our children are crazy about basketball, and it's growing in leaps and bounds. How many basketball courts do we have close to our eventing spaces, such that you are also able to host basketball events? So that's the kind of thinking, ladies and gents, we wish, as you are about to break into commissions, let's try and think outside of what we've always known. The issue of technical riders, I've had the privilege of managing when I was young. I'm old now, I'm an old man. When I was young, in my youth, I had the immense privilege of working with incredible artists. I used to manage the likes of Brenda Fassie. I worked with Mambusi Mhlongo. I worked with that Mduma Silela, that entire generation of musicians. What was most beautiful about working with them was that this rider culture was not there. The only rider back then was, of course, there would have to be refreshments backstage. Now you do an event and they tell you they want champagne, and they don't just want sparkling wine. They give you the name. We should say no to that. But when we decide to do that, it should be a standard. It shouldn't be just because if you say no, then it's a no. I don't understand why should you be fitting my drinking habits? And number two, you're about to go on stage, and I am feeding you alcohol so you can go and be disrespectful to my audience. And if you look at eventing, there is no money, guys. The industry is shrinking. There is no money. So people make sacrifices when they choose to come to events only to be entertained by someone who's drunk. And someone who would have charged a fee. I mean, if you look at the fees that are being charged now, and no disrespect to DJs, I think they've done it. There's something great that they've done to elevate themselves to where they are. However, whatever it is that they charge, it should then feed their habits. Musician A or musician B, if it is that they want this and this and that, from the fee that they charge you, they should get it. In fact, the policy should be such that no alcohol backstage. Then that becomes the standard. If people want to get drunk, then they come, they perform, and they can get drunk as they leave the venue. So there's a lot of we're gonna have to, as a sector, once again, do pardon my language. We have to grow balls if we are going to transform. That's number one. Number two, as a sector, if we have to transform, we have to be prepared to go hungry. Because this resistance, if we choose to go this fortnight and we say as a sector, this is what, then we are obviously going to be met with resistance. But if everybody says, we have the means of production, we are not doing it. And that's the only way that we can turn the tide. We're about to take a short, a 10-minute break because we're trying to catch up on the time that we've lost. A 10-minute break, but before we do that, and then after the break, we're going to go to the commissions, where you can then sit and ventilate on these issues and work on the presentations. For each commission, there would be a board member assigned so that the engagements are meaningful. And then the person entrusted by these respective commissions will then come back and have the presentations. So I just want to do a quick exercise. We've got about 3. See, I told you I'm old. Now I must find my way here. So we've got a couple of discussion themes and sub-themes and topics that the committee had agreed upon. So I'm going to read them all out first and give you just a few seconds just to think of where you would want to be. And then I will then ask by the show of hands who is keen on being where. What usually helps with this at times, there's always an opportunity to learn. So you don't always necessarily have to go to the commission where you are well averse. Sometimes it's important to go to where you stand to learn. I enjoy teaching. I wanted to be a teacher. Maybe I would now that I'm close to retirement. There is no greater benefit than approaching every space like a blank check, like a child that knows absolutely nothing. So it's important to just, as we mingle, perhaps, you might want to go to a session that you are not quite clear on. So the options, or there are four discussion tables. It was three, but it's four. There's one, industry coordination and sector development. Two, we have skills development, training, and emerging practitioners. Three, we have technical production, events economy, and policy environment. Four, we have events economy. Okay, on the third one, we've also added the events economy, policy, and institutional collaboration. So I'll run them through again, and then I'll ask by the show of hands. As I mentioned, you will then say you want to go on this one. If you'll indulge me, let me just run through them again, just giving you a little bit of time to process and digest. So these are the commissions. We have the industry coordination and sector development. That's number one. We have skills development, training, and emerging practitioners. That's number two. Number three, it's a bit long, this one. Technical production, events economy, policy environment, events economy once more, and institutional collaboration. So by the show of hands, who is keen on industry coordination and sector development? Industry coordination and sector development. Industry coordination and sector development. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's great. I'll tell you where you're going to go. Thank you, colleagues. Skills development, training, and emerging practitioners. Skills development, training, and emerging practitioners. If my eyes are not deluding me, sometimes I have double vision. I see there's a couple of hands on that one. Yeah, it helps to wave. We appreciate that. You see, coordination, there we go. Already we're coordinating. She's identified that I'm blind, so she's helping me, and that's what coordination is all about, the unspoken language. Okay, this is the skills one. Thank you, colleagues. And the last one, technical production, events economy, policy and institutional collaboration, and a policy environment. Hands for that one. Fantastic. So, the last set of hands, you are going to remain here. So those who have raised their hands for technical production, events economy, policy and institutional collaboration, this is where you will have your commission. And the colleagues who have signed up for skills development, training, and emerging practitioners, there are 2 other rooms that are allocated on the outside. What would happen is, once you've had your refreshments, my colleagues would have boards that would direct you to where you need to be. So we're not going to come back here for now. Immediately after, and I know I'm being unfair, I'm only with your permission, madam, would a 10-minute or 15-minute break be fair? Women are known for fairness and decisiveness, amongst other things. 15 minutes. Well, the Queen has spoken. 15 minutes it will be, colleagues. So those who raise their hands last, you will then return here after 15 minutes. I don't have to hash you out about time. You are eventing professionals and you understand that time is important, and there's no such thing as African time in the eventing language. So 15 minutes, we're all here, and those who are going to different commissions will go there. It's 12 o'clock. At 12 o'clock, we all go to our respective... Am I missing out anything, ma'am?
They need to choose each person from the list to do the presentation.
Yes. So we'll also...